If you're a commission salon or spa owner working nonstop, barely paying yourself, and wondering how in the heck this became your life, you need a serious upgrade. Welcome to the station. Welcome to the station, the podcast built for salon and spa owners who are ready to build, grow, and scale without the burnout. If you are tired of the hustle not matching the profit, then you're in the right space. This is where we ditch the overwhelm and break down real leadership strategies, systems that actually work, and business models that put your profit first. It's where beauty pros become powerful CEOs. Did you ever wake up, look at your books, look at your team, and think, everything's fine? There's no major crisis, no fires to put out, just the same clients, the same numbers, the same routines. So you just keep thinking, everything's good, we're fine. But deep down, you know that it's not. You're showing up, but the passion, it is starting to fade or it's even gone. The growth, it is completely flatlined. And honestly, you're kind of bored with your business at this point. I have been there so many times. This is where most salon and spa owners, they just completely stall. And it's not because they're failing, it's because they have settled. They're stuck in a comfort zone that feels like stability, but it is actually stagnation. And here is what nobody is saying out loud. Comfort, it is the quiet killer of growth. So in this episode, we are digging into how playing it safe is actually holding you back, the real cost of staying in that fine mode, and what high-level shifts you can make to reignite momentum and finally step into expansion. Hey, Chandra.
Hello, hello.
All right. Can you think of a time when you were comfortable in your business, but you were actually completely stuck?
I feel like many times. What is the most recent one? No, I think there was, definitely a time when things were pretty easy and things seemed like they were going pretty good and our numbers were pretty consistent and everything just kind of went on. I was still working behind the chair though at that time. So same, that was the routine, but we definitely weren't growing. And even though it seemed like things were fine, there was definitely still things that I just was ignoring. Maybe they weren't actually fine, but yeah, definitely.
I know we talk to tons of salon and spa owners every single day. Why do you think so many owners confuse being stable with being successful?
I think because they probably worked really hard in the beginning and had a lot of, stuff to deal with and it was very stressful. And then you do kind of hit that point where things stabilize and you feel like, oh, this is good now. This is what I was going for. Even though it's not probably actually at the end goal that you had set out for, it's just kind of a comfortable feeling at the moment. And so we kind of get stuck in that place.
Well, and I think a lot of times it's not even obvious at first. Things aren't bad, right? But they're not moving either. And that in-between space, it can be, honestly, the hardest space to break out of sometimes. It actually reminds me of a client that we worked with who was in this exact position almost. This BBA member, she came to us with a business that it looked great on paper. Absolutely great. She had a very loyal team, steady clients, and really decent income. But everything had been the same for years. She hadn't raised her prices. Her service menu was very outdated. Her brand, it just hadn't evolved. And worst of all, she felt blah. She felt stuck. She wasn't failing by any means, but she definitely wasn't growing. So we started helping her raise her prices based on real data. We refined her service offerings so that they matched where her brand was going, not where it started. And we built out simple leadership systems so that she wasn't the only one holding everything up. Within 4 months, her income had jumped. Her team culture, it was on fire. And she told us that she finally felt like the CEO of her business. And it all started with one decision. She stopped playing it safe. Chandra, why do you think growth often starts with discomfort?
Well, because you have to push yourself outside of your box in order to grow. You have to kind of put yourself in a different situation or do things that you've never done before or things that, are scary sometimes in order to achieve growth. And so I think that's why, some people are so afraid of doing those things.
Absolutely. And I know you and I have both seen salon owners, their entire energy shift once they stop playing it safe. What is it like when you actually see that happen in one of the owners that we're coaching?
It's an amazing thing to see. I think in the beginning, they get really stressed and it gets really serious and they get really nervous and all the emotions start happening because it's kind of pushing them outside of their comfort zone. And then once they get past that point and they start to see that all the things that they were doing are making that difference and you start to see that change in them, it's really amazing. Like I love seeing them step into that kind of CEO role and start feeling like they actually have a real business. And that's what I usually take away from that process. And I think it's amazing, the transformations that we've been able to see.
Yeah, just thinking about it kind of gives me chills. And I agree with you. A lot of times it is very, very frustrating and stressful in the beginning. But if we can get them to hold on just long enough, they see that light at the end of the tunnel and everything starts just shifting. And it is a beautiful, beautiful sight. So let's talk about breaking out of comfort and what it actually looks like in real time. Because comfort, it doesn't always look like this Netflix and chill thing that everybody thinks that it does. In business, comfort shows up in the daily decisions that we delay, the conversations that we avoid, and the parts of the business that we've been coasting on for probably way too long. So if you are out there and you are feeling stuck right now, it may not be because you're doing anything wrong. It may be because you've stayed in something just way too long. Not saying you've stayed in your business too long or an industry, just something too long. So I want to walk through 4 of the most common comfort zones that salon and spa owners get stuck in and the shifts that will actually move them forward. The first one is pricing. Comfortable pricing equals compromised profit. You've got long-term clients. You don't want to rock the boat. You're afraid that raising your prices is going to make people leave. So you just stay. You stay exactly where you are. But the truth is, when you undercharge, you are not serving your clients. You're sacrificing your business. You can't grow if your prices don't support your overhead, your team, your skill, your time, a million things. Base your pricing on your cost per hour. It is the only way to do it, not your fear of losing clients or people. Every price, it should have a purpose behind it. When you price like this, you're pricing with clarity and confidence. And you guys have heard us say this before. When you do this, you don't lose clients. You lose the ones who are not aligned with you to begin with. I don't know why so many people are scared of doing that. Chandra, what's the biggest mindset block you see when it comes to people actually raising their prices? And how do you coach salon owners to move through that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are afraid they're going to lose people. They're afraid they're going to raise their price and then everybody's not going to come back. And that's just really not the reality. It's okay if you lose a few clients. You definitely could. It doesn't mean you will, but you could. But you will leave room for more people that will be happy to pay your price. And I think when we coach through this process, it's really a lot about how your experience is, your salon experience, and how you're conducting business. And I think if you focus on those things during that price increase process, then people don't mind paying the extra money because they know they're going to get an amazing experience. They know that their value matches what they're paying. And that's, I think, one of the biggest ways that we guide people through that process and make sure that they feel comfortable raising those prices.
Absolutely. And we covered this in an episode not too long ago. And it's just so important that we had to bring it up again because it is one of the things that keep people stuck. Now, pricing, it's just the beginning, because even if you get that part right, if your service menu doesn't evolve with your brand, you are still selling a version of your business that no longer exists. It just doesn't exist. And that can really, really hurt your business, your reputation, your team, all of those things. Number 2 is outdated service menus with a misaligned brand, obviously. Most salon menus, they haven't been updated in years. We get some people that come to us and they are still using nearly the identical menu that they used 15, 20, 25 years ago. You're still offering everything that you always did even if your dream client has changed or your team has actually outgrown those services. Here's the issue with that. A service menu that tries to speak to everyone, it ends up connecting with absolutely no one. You have to audit your menu. You have to eliminate what no longer aligns. Raise the prices on high effort services too. That is very, very important. Package the things that you do best. Make those packages. Your menu should reflect the business that you're building, never the one that you started. It just shouldn't be that way. And I don't know why we get so stuck like this. Chandra, what's one thing salon owners could change on their menu today, right here, right now, that would immediately improve their business?
Well, I think get rid of things that you don't need. Like people have so many services on their menus. When we start working with owners on this, there's sometimes 50, 100 services on these menus. And it's confusing for the client, drowns things out. There's too many things. And most of the time, if you actually audit your services, you're not even doing half of those almost ever anyways. And so I think if you can streamline your services, that would be one of the best ways to start updating this and moving that forward.
Yeah, it comes back to that old saying, right? Less is more. Less is more. Pretty simple. It's not just about your prices. It's not just about the services that you offer. It's also about how you lead. Because even the best pricing and services, they can't scale if your team structure is built around you doing absolutely everything. So number 3 is stagnant team structures equal leadership bottlenecks. This one hits really, really hard because it can be sneaky. You think that you're being helpful, you're involved, you're supportive, but what you're really doing is being that bottleneck in your business. I see this over and over and over again. And this is probably where most salon owners are the most stubborn when it comes to coaching them. And I was right there in the same boat with them many years ago. You are ordering color, you're handling conflict, you're managing every client issue. And meanwhile, your business, it can't grow because it can't run without you. You have to start small. Delegate maybe inventory, assign a team lead, build layers of leadership. This isn't about lowering your standards in any way, shape, or form. It's about raising the standard for the business as a whole. Chandra, what's the first role that you would recommend an owner delegate if they are trying to step out of this micromanagement phase that we find 98% of salon owners in?
I think one of the biggest things would be what's taking a lot of your time, or what can you offload that, is going to free up enough time that you can focus on other things and that you could easily trust somebody to do in the beginning. And so inventory is a huge one. I think that's a big one. When I took that off my plate, that freed up a lot of extra time for me. And I think just looking at what is taking a lot of your time that you can pass on to someone else, that they can take that over.
Absolutely. Definitely start small. Like I said earlier, start very, very small. Something that is going to really, really help you out, like Chandra said, but that can be trained very simply in the beginning. Finally, even with all the right systems in place, none of it matters if you're still making decisions based off fear. Fear-based decision-making equals business paralysis. We got to be honest. Fear is a master of disguise. It shows up in all kinds of ways that we don't even understand. Undercharging, over accommodating, or endlessly waiting for the perfect or the right time. Fear is never going to keep you safe. It keeps you small. Ask better questions. Not what if it doesn't work, but what happens if I don't try? What happens if I don't change? What happens if I don't do something different? What does your life look like if nothing, absolutely nothing changes in the next 3 years? You're not just avoiding risk, you are avoiding growth, and you're doing it intentionally. Chandra, what is one small risk a salon owner can take maybe this month to remind themselves that they are allowed to evolve and grow?
I think one small risk you could really start to take would be just getting a handle on your finances. Like, start putting yourself on a budget. Like, just start there. Pick one small thing that you're afraid of. If you're afraid of the numbers, put yourself into a budget, or look at your numbers and figure out, what you need to be able to stop stressing out about it. And so that's where I would start with taking the first step and just getting in there and finding out what's actually happening in your business.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I would also say for me, one of the smallest risks that you can take is looking for help, right? Find somebody who does a complimentary audit into your business. Get on a phone call with them. Let them see the things that you can't see because you are way too close to your business. That literally costs you nothing except a little bit of your time, but it can change your business and your life moving forward in so many ways. With that being said, let's hit a question that came in from a listener that I think is really important. What do you do when a longtime client suddenly ghosts and it feels personal? This one can hit really, really hard, especially for owners who've built very deep relationships with their clients. But more often than not, I want you guys to know it's not about you. It's not. People leave for 100 different reasons. And most of them have nothing to do with your skill or your service. Still, that emotional sting can be very, very real and very, very raw. So instead of taking it personally, I want you guys to start taking this professionally. Ask yourself some very important questions. Was my client journey consistent every single time? Were my boundaries always clear? Was that client still my ideal guest? Because maybe they weren't. You want to use this moment to reflect, to learn, and to move forward stronger. Chandra, I know that you have done this, but tell me about a time where you had to talk to a stylist or maybe even yourself through a client leaving just unexpectedly.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we just had this happen with one of our stylists not too long ago that we walked through. And we did reach out to the client to see if we could get some feedback, and she definitely never called us back. And so that's one of those things that's frustrating because you're like hoping you could get feedback and know maybe what happened. But then when they ghost you completely, you feel really in the dark and you don't know. And so we sat down and we really picked apart like all of the things that might have happened in those services. This is somebody who's been coming in for many years. This is somebody who just canceled all their appointments and disappeared. That's always booked far ahead. And so we really went through and kind of picked apart what could it have been, what was different this time. And she did find a couple things that were a little bit different because she was off her game on the last visit that client came in. And so we kind of just worked through that. Like, what could we do differently? How do we avoid these things in the future? Because there definitely was something that happened. This wouldn't be somebody that just normally would just disappear. And so she was very upset. She was crying, stylist in the beginning. And so we had to walk through all of that and really get to the root of maybe what happened. And then you can kind of work on that, really figuring out in the future, how do we consistently not have certain things happen during those services, especially with those clients. I mean, for every client, but when you have somebody who is used to a very consistent process and that link breaks, they start to lose trust in the stylist or in the business. So that's kind of how we work through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, even if it isn't your fault, because sometimes it isn't, right? Sometimes it boils down to the person. Maybe they're moving away and they just don't feel the need to let you know. Maybe something's going on. The beautiful thing about doing what Chandra explained is you are still finding holes in your guest experience, in your business, with your team. And so you are bettering yourself all the way around in every way possible. Here's what we want you guys to walk away with today. Comfort should never be the goal. Evolution should be your goal. Your business was not meant to stay the same, and neither were you. And if things have felt maybe fine, but not fulfilling, this right here should be your sign. You're not failing. We've said that a million times. You are just ready for something bigger. You are ready for what's next. Growth, it doesn't always come with this big moment or explosive fireworks that everybody thinks it does. Sometimes it just comes with making one small decision, raising your prices, cutting services, handing off some responsibility, taking a small risk. That's all. It doesn't have to be something big. If you are ready to shake off survival mode and start building a business that creates freedom, head over to thebeautybizagency.com. We've got the strategy, support, and structure that you need to scale your salon or spa and finally become the CEO you know that you need and want to be. Chandra, what would you say to the owner who knows that they've been playing small, but isn't really sure where to start pushing for growth that is going to benefit them, their business, and their employees?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in that place and you're a little bit afraid to move forward or you're just not sure what to do, you should definitely reach out and get some help. I think that there's a lot of coaches out there that could just at least look from a bird's eye view, like what's going on in your business, and give you some tips or give you some things that you can start doing to get yourself moving forward and get yourself out of that rut. And so I definitely think that would be my recommendation is get another pair of eyes on your business and help to see what you need to do next.
That's a powerful recommendation and honestly a great place to leave things for this episode, because the first step out of fine is admitting that you are meant for more. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and share this with a fellow beauty boss who's stuck in that fine mode. Let's all start pushing for what's next. Chandra, how can our audience connect with us?
Yeah, so you can reach out to us on social media and the Beauty Biz Agency on Facebook or Instagram, or the Beauty Biz Mentors on TikTok. You could also shoot us an email at admin@thebeautybizagency.com. We would love to hear from you guys.